Hi everyone, we're just waiting to see if a few more people arrive. So hi, thank you for being here. Hi Dan, can you hear us?
Like he's still checking some things. Joshua looks like might be coming in.
Hi Sarah, hi Joshua.
Good evening.
Hello.
Good evening, good morning, good night, good day.
Dads are all over, huh?
It's afternoon here.
It's still morning here. It's 11, just gone 11.
And where are you, Victoria?
In Colorado.
Okay, I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay.
Hi Sarah, hi Joshua.
Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good evening. Hello.
Hi,
Good
everybody.
evening, good morning, good night, good day. Dads are all over, huh?
Oh, there's a bit of a lag in the sound, I think.
Yeah.
No, I've just undone my YouTube because it bounces back. There's a 20-second delay between what we say and what goes out live.
Okay.
Too many buttons on this thing for me. Somebody's trying to get in, but I can't find where.
Oh, you can hear me now?
Ah, there we go, Dan. Hi.
I had it on mute. I'm obviously an expert at all this electronic stuff.
Look, I'm no expert, let me tell you. This is the first time I've done a live stream, and I'm jumping between the YouTube controls and the Zoom controls, and it's all very, very demanding.
Yeah.
Hi, Amanda. Hi, Angelica.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Joshua.
Hello.
All right, it's 3. We'll wait till 5 past, and then we'll get going.
Okay, I'm just going to grab some more water.
Just give everyone a chance to settle in and get in. Yeah, we'll just wait a couple of minutes, just until 5 minutes past the hour, and we'll get going. So thank you, all of you, for joining me. I've done maybe 15 or so recordings so far. I've taken on a huge challenge because from today till the 10th of December, I'm doing 26 interviews.
Wow.
I think I must be crazy.
It's a lot.
So we're going I'm launching 4 tonight, and we've got one of the launchees with us. Dan is on the first group, and then I'm going to send one every Tuesday and Thursday till the 25th of November. And then on the 25th to the 10th of December, I'm going to do one a day to honor the 16 days of activism. And then after that, we'll go back to Tuesdays and Thursdays until I'm exhausted, and then probably drop down to one a week after that. So we'll see how we go, and we'll see what the demand and the interest is. If there's lots of demand and I've got the energy, we'll keep it up. Otherwise, we will reduce the numbers. So I don't know if anybody else is going to be joining us, and seeing as there's only a few of us, let's go around the room and introduce ourselves. If you can tell us who you are, where you are in the world and the time at the moment, and what you do for a living. So I will just go in the order as people appear on my screen. So I'm going to start with Sandy.
Oh, hi, well, I'm Sandy Phillips Kirkham. I am a retired nurse from Children's Hospital. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's about 5 after 1 in the afternoon here. I am a victim's advocate for clergy abuse. I've written a book called Let Me Pray Upon You, which goes through my own experience of clergy abuse at age 16 by my youth pastor. I didn't tell anyone for 27 years. My husband, family never knew. A trigger factor forced me to face my past, which then set me on my journey of healing, which eventually led to my writing of my book.
And I've done my interview already with Sandy, and boy, what a story. Thank you for joining us, Sandy.
You're welcome.
Okay, I'll move over to Victoria.
Hi, my name is Victoria Clark Jones. I am in Commerce City, which is close to Denver in Colorado. It is currently just after 11 here in the morning, and I am a kids life coach. So my story is I grew up, and I was born and grew up in a religious cult. So right now I'm a big advocate for kids, learn to speak up, be assertive in communication, and also just working with basic stuff like healthy habits and communication, social skills, things like that.
Again, another fascinating story. I don't know where I found all of you guys, but I'm grateful. Thank you for being here, Victoria.
Thank you.
And then we move over to Dan.
Hey, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm a life's been a rocky road. Right now, I'm a tattoo artist. I live in New York. It's Long Beach, New York, which is about 45 minutes out of the city, out of Manhattan. And it's 1:07 p.m. right now. And I started out, well, I was homeless, and then I went through a procession of jobs, and now I own a tattoo shop and a tattoo, but I do a lot of artwork on the side, and I write novels as well. I'm on my 3rd novel. And I like to talk to other artists. The tattoo shop I run is more of an art studio, and people come in there and we do art shows, and we just everyone tries to get better.
Thank you, Dan. And you must do visit his website. He's got some very interesting art. It's an acquired taste, I think, but it's very, very good. So thank you for joining us, Dan.
Thank you.
And then we move to Sarah, or is it Sarah? I'm not sure.
I'm Sarah. Yeah. So hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Wisniewski. I am in the UK, where it is 5:10. It's been our coldest day yet. There was actually ice on our cars this morning when I was taking children to school, which is a bit of a culture shock for us because it's been a very mild October. So I am a visibility coach. I help predominantly female entrepreneurs to grow and scale their businesses by finding a way that they can take themselves out into the world in a way that they love. I left 20 years of corporate to start my business, and since 2018 I've been fighting against that requirement to turn up in a certain way. and to almost follow the formulas and to I have to and I should. And it was only once I relaxed into, actually, I don't enjoy doing some of that stuff. This is what I enjoy doing, truly connecting with people and finding a way to share my message in a way I like doing it, as opposed to the shoulds. And I allow and support other entrepreneurs to do the same thing. And then they go on to help others. So what I love about the role that I do is it has a huge ripple effect, and the difference it makes then to the people that they serve. And then. Yeah, very, very fulfilling and satisfying job.
Super, thank you. And we can all do with a bit more visibility. Angelica.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angelica Boykas. I am in Oxfordshire in the UK, and it is about 5:10 by now, maybe 11 minutes past 5. It's really nice to meet you all. What I do is I work with women. It's about change your story and change for life. And I change my very personal story, not to impress, but to impress upon people that change for life is possible in spite of thinking it is not. It's born into domestic violence, developmental trauma, sexual abuse from 5. Then the whole experience led into prostitution, working in an escort for many years, left the person that introduced me to that, spent some time in the corporate business, left there, and then became a therapist, a Bowen therapist, and Reiki. And, once you go into the therapy world, you just come across many different modalities. But now this is what I do. I'm trauma informed, and I work with mainly with women, helping them to overcome their challenges, experiences from the past that are still holding them back, but also more recent experiences. And I do that with my ABC Change for Life, which stands for acceptance, beliefs, and choice equals change.
Great, fantastic. Thank you, Angelica. And then we have Joshua.
Hey, everybody. Back across the Atlantic to the U.S. I am Joshua Shea. I am just outside of Portland, Maine, where we too are now getting ice, and that's not cool because October was pretty nice. Halloween was 65, 70 degrees. The kids were loving it. And then I almost slipped going out to my truck this morning. So, welcome to Maine. There's a reason they call it New England, I guess. Anyway, I, for about 35 years, was a very successful businessman in the world of communications. I also was a founder of one of the largest film festivals in the Northeast US, and I was a local politician. But what most people didn't realize was that I had 24 years of porn addiction that I was hiding, another 22 years of alcoholism I was hiding. Eventually in 2014, I stepped into an inpatient recovery center out in California for the first time, and my life absolutely changed. I'll skip the last 5 or 6 years, but I'll say today that I am now proudly a certified post-betrayal trauma coach. I am also a coach for both men and women who are suffering with pornography addiction or sex addiction, which most people think of as intercourse addiction, but any modality of sex addiction I can help with. And I've written 3 books on the subject, working on my 4th. I've got a TED Talk out there, and I've actually given more interviews about pornography addiction since 2017 than anybody else on earth. So thank you for recording that show recently with me, Lois. I look forward to it coming out. It's nice to meet all of you today.
Do you do anything about lack of sex addiction?
No, I don't think that's an addiction. That's just a sad fact for a lot of us.
Thank you, Joshua. Amanda.
Hello, everyone. I'm sorry if you see me eating. I'm on my lunch break. I do still work a day job, but I am a holistic health coach. I focus on anti-diet nutrition and body neutrality coaching. So I have a history of eating disorders, body dysmorphia, and a lot of mental health issues for most of my life. In a very small nutshell, I have learned to manage my mental health through food and movement. So I'm now helping other women do the same. I just launched my business over the summer, so it's pretty new. And listening to all of you, I feel like I need to write a book to be in this room with you right now. So I should get on that. But I'm just really happy to be here. I'm so grateful to have been interviewed on Lois's podcast, and I'm excited for it to come out.
Great. Thank you so much, Amanda.
Thank you.
Your message can help millions out there. Sabrina, you're on mute.
Mute.
Oh, I got it. Sorry. Thank you so much for having me, Lois. Hello, everybody. My name is Sabrina Oso from Oso Safe. Feel safe where you live, work, and play. I am a speaker and consultant on promoting safety and preventing violence in the workplace, schools, but in particular in your place of residence. I was fortunate enough to also have a TEDx talk broadcast, and we combine education and technology to promote safety and prevent violence in the workplace, schools, and in particular in your place of residence. So we feel that this safety needs to become a required standard condition of residency. And I'm so happy to be here with all of you. It's an honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sabrina. And it's a very ambitious and a very worthwhile project you're working on. And Katrina.
Hey Lois, sorry, I'm just off camera because I'm just trying to feed children and wash up. But thank you for having me here. My name is Katrina Ellis. I'm originally from Ireland, but I'm based in the Isle of Man. My area of expertise is around financial wellness. I work specifically with women and educating them about increasing their financial literacy, so that they can make decisions on relationships and on their life without ever feeling like they are boxed in a corner and need to stay in a relationship because they're financially dependent. It's based on the situation I found myself in recently, going through a divorce after 22 years, but having to hold off my decision to exit from that relationship based on my own financial dependency. So I working with a lot of women at the moment in various relationship statuses and giving them that power back so that they can take the reins and understand how they can make very simple changes financially in their life to make the right decision for their relationship, whatever that is, but never making it from a place of dependency. So that's my area of expertise and my passion, and just empowering women to financially to make the best decisions for themselves. So that's me, and thanks for having me here, Lois.
Super, thank you. Well, it's such a diverse range of individuals here, and the rest of the guys and girls that I've been interviewing come from completely different fields and experiences as well. So I think it's going to be a really worthwhile series of podcasts where people can find something that resonates with them. So I welcome all of you here on the call with us, and I welcome everybody who is watching. And I'm hoping that everybody can live with hope and we can move from pain into pleasure and find peace after our pain. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask everybody the same question. And the question is, we've all been a victim of trauma of some sort sometimes in our life. And it doesn't have to be major trauma like what some of us have experienced here. Some of us have experienced terrible things, others not so bad. But trauma is trauma, and it could be just losing a loved one. It could be a divorce. It could be an accident. It could be losing a job. And then it could be something more serious. But when you've had a negative experience, you do get trauma, and trauma is your wound. And what I want to ask all of you is one emotion that you have felt at any time through any of your life experiences when you've been wounded and you're in what I call the victim mode. What emotion have you felt, and how does it make you feel in your mind and in your body? And I'm going to open it up to the floor. Anybody can answer. Any volunteers to get going?
Well, for me, I didn't have anger as much as I had an overwhelming sense of sadness that this was done to me, and that someone that I should have been able to trust, my minister, would just such in an evil way use me and take advantage of me. And I was just saddened by that someone could do that to another individual. And it affected my, excuse me, it affected my spiritual life. And to this day, it still does. And it really contaminated everything about church for me. And I mourn the loss of what I once had within the church walls that I no longer can have. And so for me, while there was obviously some anger at times, mostly I just feel sad. I feel sad for what was done to that 16-year-old girl.
Sadness. Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, Victoria.
Like Sandy, it was not so much anger, it was definitely sadness and a feeling of helplessness. Because again, I was very young when these things happened to me, and feeling like also responsible for my siblings growing up. You know, I had 6 siblings. I was the second out of 7. So feeling responsible, possibly guilty in a lot of ways, but very, very helpless.
Thank you. Angelica?
Yeah, it's a bit similar. It is the deep sadness, and it's fear and feeling unsafe, and also feeling a sense of not belonging, because whatever happens to us, whatever type of trauma or wounding it is there is nobody you can, for most people that I have experienced or helped, there is nobody that they can share with. So it's this loneliness with this horrible thing in you that you just kind of grow up with. And then, it's like when I think about my younger self, it was always just finding ways in my mind to overcome and keep going, finding some positivity.
Thank you. Joshua?
Yeah, my trauma was foisted upon me when I was very young, and I also developed my addictions when I was very young. I was a porn addict at 12. I was an alcoholic at 14. Most of the way trauma played out in my life was that I had to hide my addictions from people. And that really was mostly about fear that somebody's going to find out I'm a degenerate drunk, fear somebody's going to find out I'm a worthless pervert, fear somebody's going to find out who I really am. So what happened to me, most of my life was plagued with imposter syndrome, because while I got awards, while I did well, while on paper, I could fool people, deep inside of me, I was like, here's a 6-year-old kid who somehow has got his entire community gaslit, and they're enabling me to do whatever the heck I want. They're all going to find out at some point that I'm full of crap. They're all going to find out that I'm faking my way through this. They're going to find out I have no skills whatsoever. And that's what was great about going into recovery, which I had no idea it was going to be trauma recovery as well. I just thought I was going to kick my habits. But once I got into recovery and once I started working a couple programs, that fear went away. And that was just such a huge weight off of my shoulders, off of my conscience, off of everything that had been holding me down in life. And it was wonderful.
Super. Thank you. Who's next?
Hi, Lois.
Yes. Hi. Sorry, I've just lost the screen. So if you'll just go ahead.
Sure. For me, my father beat my mother on a regular basis, and my mother would beat me. And I just never felt safe in my house ever. So it was just a feeling of always being on guard a lot in relationships and friendships. And if you're not safe at home, then where can you be safe? So just this feeling of not being safe and like very confused, like wow, I should be safe here, but I'm not. So this constant conflict in my brain as a young kid that carried through. So I hope I answered the question.
You certainly did. Thank you. Who's next?
So
Sarah.
Lois, I was going to say, and my trauma hasn't been anywhere to the level of deep trauma that a lot of you guys have, but when there's been trauma in my life, there's often followed an element of helplessness, which again I think can be part of that victim mentality that initially is often the reaction, and almost feeling that sense of this is happening to me, and well, why, and I can't necessarily change this, and you want it to pass, you want to take action to fast forward, to make it pass quicker, but actually it's happening to you instead of because of you, which it almost then erodes your sense of self and any level of empowerment that you have as an individual. Once a trauma impacts you and that knocks you off your course, it creates that helplessness, almost that free falling of when will it stop.
Great, thank you. Dan, how about you?
I think I had a little bit different experience than most people. Like people who had like deep trauma, I'm sure they felt helpless and they felt like somebody else was controlling them, like somebody else was in power and they didn't like that and they felt helpless. I didn't feel helpless so much as I felt like everything that came up, I was like embarrassed by. Like I had brain cancer, and because I had brain cancer, I have lost a memory and I had certain speech impediments and stuff, and I'd be embarrassed that I can't remember things. I'd be embarrassed that I can't say certain words. My parents are super conservative and super religious, and I was a teenage punk rocker, and rather than trying to be that bratty little kid and assert myself, which I was sometimes, but sometimes I was also like, I need to keep it away from them. This is embarrassing that people are acting out so much towards it, and you kind of like retreat in your shell, and you're determined to be yourself, but you don't really want to interact with the people.
Thank you. Gosh, Amanda.
Hi. Yeah, so I feel like my primary feelings in trauma were like hopelessness, because I thought that I was never, so when I was in like the depths of my eating disorder, well, either one of them, I was anorexic as a teenager, and then developed binge eating disorder in college when I decided I was just going to snap out of anorexia and be done with that. And that's not how recovery works. And each time I felt simultaneously hopeless that I was never going to get better, and then also a fear of getting better, because I thought that if I got better, I failed at the eating disorder. So it was a really bizarre mix of emotions, because I didn't want to feel that way forever. I was afraid that I was going to feel that way forever. And then at the same time, I knew that if I recovered, people were going to see me, or I was afraid that people were going to see me as a failure because I couldn't even do an eating disorder the right way. And especially with the binge eating disorder, when you are in a heavier body, people assume you are fine and you don't have an eating disorder, because when you're skeletal, people look at you and they're like, oh, something's wrong. But when you look healthy on the outside, people are like, oh, you're fine, you're recovered, everything's great. And you're like, no, I just ate like a whole box of cookies in the closet over there because I can't let you see me eat that. And it was just a really weird like dichotomy of emotions in the midst of that.
Thank you. Katrina.
Yeah, for me, I think it was probably feelings of unsafety and just not really, as a young child in a house with a lot of conflict. And like Sabrina said, feeling conflicted that, it's your home, so you should feel safe, but you don't. And those primary caregivers who were entrusted with looking after you are not doing that and not keeping you safe. And in that kind of state of on tender hooks, wondering what's going to happen next. And then being the eldest of sibling, feeling responsibility as well for my younger sibling, who seemed oblivious to what was happening, but I felt an innate sense to protect her. So really just a real mishmash. And then processing it after, really a mix of anger and sadness as a child, being put in a position like that. So I think that's my experience.
Thank you. So a lot of similar, everyone has spoken, have they? I haven't missed anyone else. There are a lot of similar feelings. So when you're a victim, you have all of those feelings of anger, fear, helplessness, sadness, and they're real feelings. And it is so important that we acknowledge those feelings and we accept them, because they're there for a purpose. They're there to protect us and to help us get through whatever trauma it is that we are experiencing. What we need to do then is to develop our resilience and build up our resilience so that we can survive. So I would like now for all of you to give me some idea of what you did. How did you find the hope? Where did you get your resilience so that you could move forward? Who's going to go first?
I can. I'll go first again.
Okay.
For me, it was education. My abuse started when I was 16. It ended when I was 21. And so for 5 years, this man had convinced me that we were having a love affair and that we were married in God's eyes and this was God's will. So in my mind, this was not abuse, but I was participating in having an affair with a married man. It wasn't until I was able to start educating myself that I learned the two terms of grooming, gaslighting, manipulation, love bombing, that I then began to understand that this was a perpetrator who had chosen me for my vulnerabilities. And this wasn't a love affair. This was an abuse of his position. It was an abuse of his power. It was the abuse of his influence over me. And once I began to understand that this just didn't happen to me, that this was done to me in a purposeful act, it took away some of the guilt and shame that I had been carrying. And that I needed to let go of that guilt and that shame that I had carried for 27 years before I was able to move forward. So I think I began to find my voice when I could articulate that this was abuse and not something that I willingly participated in, and that it was some kind of a love affair.
Super, thank you. So education is so important.
Right.
Victoria?
You talk about resilience. I think sometimes, like I say, education is a big thing to actually know what's being done, what the right terms are, because often you're told, especially when you're a child, that no, this isn't, what's actually happening. A lot of gaslighting, or you're told that, somehow it's your fault, or, you believe whatever you're told as a kid. And especially the way I grew up when I wasn't allowed to question anything. So definitely education, starting to do research, taking responsibility was a huge part for me. When I realized that, yes, these things were done to me, but at the same time, I had now a responsibility towards my own kids not to perpetrate the same things that happened to me. And once I stopped saying that things just happened to me and I don't know why and I can't do anything about it, and I started to take responsibility and actually educate myself on how to not let it happen again. That was a big aha moment for me.
And to break the patterns and to break that cycle. So well done. Thank you. Angelica?
Yeah, for me is when my father was found out, he was asked to leave. But when I used to go into town, I still used to see him. And that scared me because I still felt he had the power over me. And, and I thought, well, I don't know how this came to me, where I found the strength to do this. But I thought, well, do I want to be scared for the rest of my life? So, and the answer was no. So for me, it was like finding the courage to actually go and see him and face him, because I knew I was safe, because he was remarried. He was in a relationship, he wasn't married. And I don't know what we talked about, but you know, it's almost like now looking back, what I did is felt the fear and did it anyway. So sometimes it's kind of finding the courage and taking that responsibility, taking it in your own hands, then rather than letting it, you know, shape your life and, you know, let you carry on the way that you do. And, you know, that conversation, I don't know what we talked about, kind of set me a little bit free. I felt liberated. So, yeah.
So sometimes facing the issue or facing the person can set you free.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Who's next? Sarah.
I think for me, it always starts with a decision. And sometimes it's a conscious decision, and sometimes it's a decision that you're just nudged in that direction anyway. And that decision is almost always something along the lines of, you need to sort yourself out now, or you're done with that, we need to find a way to work through this. Or and as I say, sometimes a series of events or patterns or somebody comes into your life that almost takes the decision away, and then you're on that new path. But there's been times where I've felt that helplessness as I described initially, but then almost had that conscious thought of, right, that's it now, I can't stay in this position, we need to find a way to work through it. And as long as that decision comes, then everything beyond that point, even though they might be tiny steps, is a step towards your recovery.
And it's also important to know that when you make a decision, it is the best decision, it's the best thing you've done at that moment in time. Afterwards you say, oh, I made a wrong decision. But at that time, based on the knowledge and the information you have, you are making the best decision that you can. So make that decision. Thank you. Joshua?
Yeah, my, I guess it was the big aha moment. I agreed when my family pushed me off to rehab when I was 37, basically saying there would be massive repercussions if I didn't go. And this included, you know, I had lost my job that week because of my drinking and addictions. I just decided I would just fake my way through rehab, make them all happy, and then come home in 4 weeks and all would be forgotten and I could just, you know, go get my job back. And the first week I was at rehab, I kind of did just play along and nod and, you know, act sad when I was supposed to, act shocked when I was supposed to. It's really easy to figure out how to play that game. And on the 8th or 9th day, we did an exercise to figure out how much we had ever operated a vehicle under the influence of drugs or alcohol. And I started drinking before I ever had a license, and it never stopped me ever. And perhaps disgustingly so, when I was a local politician or I was running the several magazines here in Maine, I was stopped by police completely drunk and told, go on your way, because I helped create my city's budget. So the police are going to just, you know, kind of kiss my butt. And I had like I said earlier, I had the whole community working for me. So there I was sitting in California, not knowing anybody around me, doing this math. And I figured out that I had driven drunk in my life over 1,600 times. And that was including having my kids in the car, my grandma in the car. You know, it was sad and it was disturbing. And that was the wake-up call. That was my aha moment, where I can trace everything I'm doing now back to that moment. I would not be sitting with you here now, Lois, had I not gone to that class and said, let's figure this out. And I would have guessed, honestly, oh, I bet it's a lot. It must be around 100. And when I sat down and did it and came up with over 1,600, that was the aha, everything changes here. You need to start getting an education. You need to start accepting that things may be different. You need to start to accept that you are not correct here, because if you were, you wouldn't be sitting here right now. And that was the doors opening and my life changing forever.
Right, so it's self-awareness is very important, understanding what you've done, where you've been, how it happened. It's definitely important, self-awareness. And then the other aspect of that is support, that there's somebody there who's encouraging and supporting and helping you on that road. Who hasn't spoken? Sabrina.
Yes, I would say, because I'm listening to everyone and it's so great, all of you. I realized I was going to say therapy, but right before therapy, I disclosed everything that was happening in my house to a good friend. And that didn't happen until college. And she cried with me, and she was actually my first therapist. I just realized it. And then she got me to go to formal therapy. But therapy was what got me to be resilient, if you will, where you realize, wow, you're not crazy, that you're not the problem, it's them, the abuser, or whatever happened in your life, if it's abuse related, violent related. But I would say therapy, whether it be for me, a friend that got me to formal therapy, it's all, it was part of the process, and to this day, just a work in progress for sure.
Again, it goes back to getting that support.
Right.
Dan.
Okay. Everyone stresses education. I think education, the reason why they stress it is because it's really important, because there's a lot of stuff when you only see it through your own lens, you don't really know what's going on. You don't know how to address everything. And I think the important part is learning how to be yourself and not block out other people to the point where you tread over them and you don't interact with them, but try and maintain your own personality while you talk with people, while you do anything in life. Like, don't feel constantly shamed and embarrassed by their opinions. You need to hold strong to yourself while treating them like decent people. And I think that makes you a stronger person. You don't feel like you're giving in, all the time. You feel like you're more confident interacting with other people and you're more friendly with them.
Absolutely. You are not what other people perceive you to be. And it's important that you have that courage to be yourself. Right, I think that's everybody. So the last question that I'd like to ask everybody is, how do we help others go forward? What can we do to take them from survivor and let them become thrivers, where they can actually find that freedom and that release from whatever trauma is holding them back? So if we can see what steps, what ideas can we do to help others? Yes, Angelica.
I'm talking from my own experience as well. It's the steps that have helped me and what I learned over the years while looking into trauma and educating myself about trauma is it is important to, depending, I think for everybody, and the word trauma needs to be de-traumatized, because it means we are wounded. And trauma people can step back and think, oh, well, I haven't got a trauma. So sorry, I just wanted to say that. But what it is actually that, that they're heard and they're actually being seen for who they are and what they say and what their thoughts are. And, and how they just how their body language is. And, and once having that connection with that person is, it's helping to accept what has happened. to help them, to give them a different perspective about that. Because when you accept what has happened to you, it does not mean that what has happened is okay. It is not okay. But we have a choice of accepting it and leaving it in the past and moving on. Because if we don't let it go, and if we don't integrate what has happened to us, then we stay in the past. And there is the Serenity Prayer. God give me, I always forget the words exactly, but God give me the strength to, accept what I can and to realize, maybe, I'm sure you all know it, but basically is saying, have the wisdom to know what you can't change, because you can't change the past. And it's finding, the belief, reconnecting to ourselves and, processing the beliefs and the values that we've been given. And shame is a killer for people, for their personality. So to realize that shame is something that has been done to you, and therefore there is shame. So it's basically acceptance, finding the belief, assisting them to believe in themselves, reconnecting with themselves, and giving them different perspectives so also they can see a choice, changing the mindset from what has been created by the past to one here now, overcoming it, and then we are from survivor to a thriver. Because if we say we are a survivor, or people think they're a survivor, then they're still living with the energy from what has happened to them. Anyway, yeah, sorry.
Thank you. I'd like to just welcome Celeste. Celeste, if you'd like to just introduce yourself, where you're from and what you do.
Hi, everybody. I'm sorry I'm so late. Celeste Lowe. I'm from Kimberley in the Northern Cape, which is in South Africa. And it's really hot here. So I'm sorry for you guys. I saw you saying about how cold it is and snow and all of that, but it's hot here. And I run an organization called Optimistic Bikers Against Abuse. It grew out of basically my own journey to healing. And I really found that little bit that I caught at the end of Angelica's now little piece that she was saying about finding your space where you are right now and letting go of the past. Like that really is what I do with people. We walk long survivor journeys with people who come to us. So we do crisis management and then we do healing work. And all the time we're doing that, of course, I'm healing from my own stuff. And it's a journey, it's a process. So I come out of child abuse and domestic violence, and we just try to change the world one person at a time.
Yeah.
Perfect. Right, anybody else got something? Yes, Joshua.
I just wanted to say I loved Angelica's answer, and I feel like my role in life now, whether I'm writing a book or on a show like yours or in a coaching session, my job is to give real hope. And I think that people can manufacture fake hope easy enough, but to give real hope, to give somebody the recognition that whether it's trauma or addiction or whatever is going on in their life that's negative, whatever maladaptive coping methods they've used in life, to let them know that, yes, it actually can change and you can actually get better from this. And I think that's one of the advantages that myself and a lot of us here who are coaches, having been through some of the really rough stuff, we are the greatest example of somebody who can get through it to the other side. You know, you can go learn this stuff in the best colleges in the world, but if that, doctor or professor hasn't been through some of this, there is always going to be a little bit of their knowledge lacking, no matter how much they read, no matter how much they interview people, because they haven't been there. And I think there's an authenticity to what I do and what a lot of the people here today do, in that we have been through the hard stuff and we can give people the real hope, not the I read about it in a book hope, but the real hope. And the only other thing I want to say here is that I know that people slam technology all the time. I am one of them. But right as Celeste came on, I was thinking we've got 9 very smart, very cool people on 3 different continents talking to each other right now. So the next time you feel really quick to slam technology and how it's killing our world, just think about this conversation we're having today and how it couldn't happen without technology. So again, that's my piece. Thank you.
Thanks, Joshua. That's great. Next, Sandy.
I think it's important to accept people where they are in their trauma and not to force it and push it forward. So many times we have our own agenda where we think, especially the victims that I deal with are clergy abuse, and so often the church or their teachings of their biblical teaching tells them that they must forgive, that they need to find themselves right back with God. And that's not helpful to victims of clergy abuse. We've been hurt by the church. And so I tell people dealing with victims of clergy abuse, be very sensitive to the fact that things like scriptures, praying, going to church, those are all trigger factors for most victims of clergy abuse. So while you find those things helpful, it's probably not going to be helpful to them. And so that's what I try to tell victims, or those who are trying to help victims of clergy abuse. So often, and it happened to me, I can't tell you how many times, I'll pray for you, someone will say to me, or let me pray with you. That's not comforting to me. My abuser prayed with me before he had sex with me. So be sensitive and aware of the type of trauma that the victim has gone through. Another one, and surely maybe Victoria can relate to this, but to say, well, parents did the best they could. That's not helpful to a victim who's been abused by their parents. So I think it's important, if we're going to move that victim from survivor to thriver, is to recognize that pain where they are with non-judgment.
So important, that non-judgment, and you can't force people to move beyond their acceptance levels. So thank you. Yes, next.
I have something to say.
Hi. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Sorry. Don't want to cut you off.
Victoria? Or was it Sabrina?
Sabrina. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I would say just quickly, education, we have to raise boys and girls how to be not submissive, they have to know that they deserve to be in a good relationship, and that has to be repeated over and over again from when they are very young, and hang on to that throughout their life. And I like what I believe Sandy, what she said about triggers, and we have to be sensitive. We have to kind of connect with people and really relate to them. And this is what we do at Oh So Safe with my company. It's how I designed it, by combining education and technology. It's in residency. We feel that the focus is in residency. If we make home safe, everything else will fall into play. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sabrina. Anybody else?
Well, I have something to say. I don't want to cut anybody off. I just think it's very important for people to get past the stereotypes and the prejudice they have against you and just be yourself. Like, I remember my art teacher in school told me, get ready for a career of pumping gas because that's all you'll ever do. And now I'm a published artist and writer. So you can't listen to people. If you have something that you really feel you can excel at, go for it. Don't listen to other people.
Don't live up to other people's expectations.
Exactly.
Fabulous. Any further comments? Celeste?
I had one.
Yes, Victoria.
So like a lot of you seem to have realized, like, the earlier you start learning all the stuff and talking about it and letting, kids know that they deserve to be safe. They deserve to have a voice. That's, it's preventative. You're not doing it after all the stuff has happened to them. So for me, it definitely is, I realized in my own experiences and with my experience with my kids, just listening, just, understanding them where they're at. Kids are so often constantly being told what to do. You need to be this way. You need to live up to this expectation. And they very rarely have time to voice who they actually are without it being, well, it doesn't align with the way I want you to be as a parent. So therefore you need to change, or there's something wrong with you. So for me, the kids I work with, my own kids, what I know I missed in my childhood was just the ability to talk freely and know that you won't be judged for expressing who you truly are.
And that's what this whole podcast is about. It's about expressing who you truly are. And I'm so grateful to have all of you on this platform. Any other comments? Yes, Sarah.
And I think mine leads on really nicely from both Dan and Victoria's point, that people come to me, women, in the majority of their coaches, they come to me because they're nervous they're not getting their business to where they want it to be. So what tends to motivate them is what you would consider to be fairly stereotypical business success. They want to have more customers, they want to serve more, they want to increase their income. But actually almost without fail, what tends to be below that initial surface level, once we get a grip of the basic strategies and we put certain things in place to allow a business to flourish and grow, that what becomes the beating heart of that business and the energy that's behind a business is them as an individual. And what I find so often is that people take different formulas, or they take different personas that maybe they've been attempting to model themselves on or to become. They take those personas, they kind of regurgitate them, and that's what they present to the world. And they end up being forgotten in that sort of scenario, and they therefore forget who they are and how they want to turn up. And exactly as Dan said, being able to actually turn up as you with the amazing power of your experience as an individual, the passion that you've got about who you want to serve and how you want to help people, regardless of what your background is, you still have that. If someone starts a business in something, they have a passion and expertise or knowledge in something that they can make a difference in the world. So harnessing that is really, really crucial, as opposed to this almost modeling and acting that appears to be the fashion. I'll pretend to be that person. And it really allows that personality to come through. And it's only then, once I uncover those layers and we find out what their voice actually sounds like, that's when they start to truly shine, because they can just totally be themselves and they're not trying to pretend to be somebody else.
Thank you. Be yourself.
Yeah. Lois, I wanted to say, I think, I'm gonna talk about connected humanity, right? So I want to say that part of what we do is try to get people to connect in a safe way, in an unjudgmental way, in safe spaces. And what I find is most people that come to me, that's exactly where they are. They are hiding themselves underneath, either they're hiding themselves underneath victimhood, or they are so broken they don't even know which way they're going anymore. They're lost. They don't know what their voices sound like, and they're terrified of people being rejected. So what we try to do a lot is create safe space where it's unjudgmental and teach people how to interact with each other on the basis of we're all human first, and we make mistakes and we're not perfect, but we're striving to heal these major wounds that we've got, because we don't want to visit them on our children and we don't want to visit them on other people. And I think a lot of what I see is, people that have been broken by their parents, who were broken by their parents, who were, and all of that coming through. So although we don't work with children, we work with people now to change how they are interacting with their families and their friends and in the world, so that can change, because we have to do it from both sides, right? It doesn't help to just teach the kids. You have to teach the people that are influencing the kids all the time.
It's a huge task. And, you know, most of us here are helping people who are in trouble or who have problems or who are suffering from some trauma. And we're not doing enough to stop these things happening in the first place. I think Joshua is doing a lot to stop it happening by teaching. But, you know, just as we're sitting here, I don't know if any of you saw some of the comments that came up on the chat. On the YouTube, but there's some horrible people out there. I mean, I've deleted the comments, but some really ugly comments have been put out there. And what makes people to jump onto somebody's call and just send horrible messages? What is wrong with humankind? You know, and there was a bit of pornography in a way, I suppose. One of the comments. What are these people hoping to gain? And how do we get to them? How do we reach out to these people who've just put on the chat here? They've got funny names like Webcam, HD, XYZ. You know, so you don't know, they're not real people. Who are they? But they're just not nice. So
they're trolls. And, you know, and I think some of the people that make these comments, you know, is they're actually in need of help. They have had some experience, some wounding, sometime in their life to you know, perhaps to become the way they are now.
How do we get to them? That is the big question.
That's the difficult thing, isn't it? But, you know, I am working at the moment. I am getting to people in the way that I work with the job center. So it's finding some of the organizations where they have to go because out of need, in a way. So that is something that, you know, I'm doing. But I'm sure there's probably many other ways.
Well, what we can all do is we can support this podcast. And I would love you all to listen to each other's talks when they come out. And not only listen to them, but review them, give some feedback. Because the more we can get the messages out there, the more we can reach, the more people we can reach, and the more we can start making a difference in the world. And we've got such a diverse range of people on this podcast. There's just the 9 in this room now, but the others that are not in this room, there are some fascinating stories. So let's support each other. Let's listen to each other's podcasts. Let's review it. Let's reach out to each other and support each other. So any last words from anybody on anything?
Will you be sending a link out prior to each of the interviews to remind us?
I definitely will. The 4 plus my introduction are live now, and I've sent links. I don't know if Dan, you've had a chance to look at yours yet, but I've sent links to those 4 people. But I will put out links. If you just go to my Anchor page, you will see them all there. You can find me on Spotify. Okay. You can find it on Apple iTunes. And I'm still working on getting it on other platforms as well. But it's out there. And the messages are out there. And I'm very excited that we can make a difference in our little way. We can start making a difference. So let's go around. Last words from anybody.
Thank you.
I just want to say thank you very much, Louise, for the very hard work that you've been putting into this and bringing us all together. And it's really great to meet you all tonight. And you know, and I hope we be somehow in touch.
I think Angelica, sorry, that we should maybe make a plan to meet maybe once every 6 months or so and share latest developments and ideas and thoughts. It would be quite a good idea. So we'll keep in touch that way. Thanks. That was a subtle suggestion. Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah, I know it was a big effort putting all this together, and like you said, the next month is going to be kind of crazy for you. So yeah, really appreciate it. I know it's a lot of work.
But any other messages for our listeners, for our viewers on their lives and where they're going in their lives?
I just think that going with the thing with you have negative comments. Some people just want to watch the world burn. If they have a toxic personality, you just have to let them go.
Yeah. And also, like you said, you don't know how you can help these people. They have to want help. That's the first step in taking responsibility that they know they need to change. You can try to help them all you want. If they don't admit they need help, you can't help them.
And how do we get them to know that there is another choice?
Well, do we start here's just a thought. Are we giving them exactly what they want right now? They are getting attention from us because they are acting out this way. They're seeking attention. We are giving them what they want. We are enabling them. Perhaps if we don't give them the attention that they need, they will find other ways, and hopefully along the way they will stumble upon recovering from this way, or whatever it is that's going on in their lives that says any kind of attention is better than none. Because frankly, and I can only speak for myself, but I'm guessing it's true with all of us here, especially looking back over the last 18 months that we've been locked at home, there are so many people to help who are raising their hands screaming, please help, please help, please help, that I'm not going to worry about somebody who gets off on being a butthead in a chat room. If that's what it is, that's fine. I would rather be out there helping the people who are asking for it, because at least they have the right attitude towards it.
I think that's really important. I think that's a really important thing that you said. And I also think that there's so much of the negative shared and posted and made go viral, that one thing we can do is we can share and post each other's things and make them go viral, because people just don't see it. It gets lost in all the trauma porn.
Very true, very true. There's so much noise out there, so to get heard, which just also brings me to the question, there's so many marches and lobbies, and there's so much happening out there, especially in terms of abuse. Is it getting noticed, or is it also becoming noise?
I personally think it's just becoming noise, and people are becoming desensitized to it. And also, like before, when it was a topic that we didn't discuss because it was taboo, now it's a topic that people don't want to discuss because they hear it all the time.
Interesting. Now we had 2 marches here in near where I live in the last 2 months. One was called Slut Walk, and one was, I can't recall the other one, but they got absolutely no coverage. And it's like, why are we doing it? Why are we doing these things? Is it making a difference? It's a question I'm asking. I'd love your feedback.
I also think that people are trying to have a quick fix solution for these problems. And when they're not going away with a quick fix, they're getting frustrated about it. And none of these problems are simple problems. They're all deeply complicated social problems rooted in all sorts of, socioeconomic and cultural and all sorts of really a huge mix mash of what's going on socially in homes. And there isn't a simple solution to it. You're not going to eradicate it overnight by legislating the death penalty, for instance. So that's what people want. They want the red pill or the blue pill, but that's not going to work. And it's going to take hard work and recovery work and all of that. And people don't want to hear that. They want now.
Thank you. Sandy, last words?
No, I think this has been very helpful, and I'm encouraged by the conversation. Lois, I certainly appreciate what you've done. So, and I'm actually going to need to sign off, but it's been great, and I wish everyone the best. And I do hope, as Angelica said, we can touch base again. So thank you. I'm going to head out now. Thank
Super.
you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody, so much for being here, for volunteering your time and your insights. So grateful. And let's go out there and help people find the peace and the freedom that they deserve.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Lois. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.